Hello everyone, you're watching SK Live. I'm your host, Indranil Basu. Today we have a very special guest, one of the biggest legends of Indian football, Mr. Baichung Bhutia. Welcome Baichung to the show. You're on
Thank you
SK
very
Live.
much.
Such a pleasure, having you. And, this is my first stint with SK Live, and getting a legend like you, I don't know if I can sleep tonight. So how was the lockdown? Must have been very tough for you, because I was told you had traveling from Calcutta to Siliguri, got stuck in Siliguri for a long time, and then you had to go to Bangkok after a lot of struggle.
Lockdown has been okay, but I think now it's getting a little too much because it's going on and on and on. In fact, I just traveled today from Siliguri to Kolkata, so I'm here with my kids and my family. So very happy to be here in Kolkata.
So you got
But
stuck in
overall,
Siliguri for 2 months.
yes, I was in Siliguri stuck. I was in Kolkata. I was going back to Sikkim and then supposed to return, but in between, then the lockdown happened. So I decided to stay in Siliguri. So I was on my own alone, which was quite good because, got to do a bit of got my own self time, and could do quite a few things, including bit of social work,
Yeah.
bit of my own fitness, and a few other things. So overall, it was okay, but I think it's getting a little better.
So where was what was your first reaction when you heard about the lockdown?
But we did not really, I had heard about Corona and COVID-19, but did not really think it so serious. But when the lockdown was announced, in fact, the lockdown was announced by government of West Bengal much before government of India, which was 3 days lockdown, and then there was a Janta curfew by the Honorable Prime Minister, and then after that evening the lockdown was announced. So was quite shocking, bit worried because first thing is, everything shuts. Well, how are you going to do with the essentials and all that? So in that way, and obviously I was away from family as well, and kids were not around, so it was a bit worrying that way.
You're a champion of a footballer, also a very sensitive person, and seeing the condition of the migrant workers in what you've seen. So, what are your thoughts? Sorry,
Just
yeah,
a second. Just a
yeah,
sec.
yeah,
Isha,
please, please.
don't shake, na. You're shaking a little too much. My daughter, I think, she's disturbing quite a bit.
Yeah, we'll come to them. I have lots of questions about that.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean,
so
migrant workers in the country.
No, I think we've seen over during this lockdown. I think if anybody has suffered a lot, it's been the migrant workers. And initially, I think when the lockdown happened, I think there was a big chaos of people,
I know.
wanting to travel, wanting to go back home, and we could see from the day one itself, once the lockdown was there, the kind of suffering the migrant workers. And being in Sikkim, I did see in Sikkim as well. We have a lot of migrant workers working there, and they were trying to get back home to Bengal, Bihar, Jharkhand, any other places. So they were struggling to come out because the ban on border crossing was there because they could not cross. And all these laborers, I think they come with a contractor and start working on a daily wage. Once it was called for 21 days, then I think the contractors, told them that they're not going to pay, and the only option for them was to go back. But when they were going back to the borders, I think the police and obviously the law did not allow them to cross. So a lot of them were, struggling where to go, stay, find food, water, drink, and that is where I think I did see that because I was also I had some migrant workers, in fact, working in my newly constructed building, which is not completed, and they were also going back. So then that's where I said, you should stay back, and they were saying there are other friends of theirs from the same village that they don't have anywhere to stay, and that's where I said bring them on, and if they don't have anywhere, rather than sleeping outdoor on the roadside, in the roadside or open
Wonderful.
places, at least they have a building which is maybe it's not finished, but at least they have a roof too. So that's how I'd offered them with all the food and ration and for them to stay.
That's why we look up to sports people. They are they're followed massively because they set so many examples of the field as well. Coming back to Mother Earth, she's also very angry with us. We had 4 to 5 earthquakes, then the tropical cyclone, destroying lots of Bengali families in in Bengal. So, what are your thoughts about that?
No, I think it was a big challenging and difficult time, especially for Bengal, because first, obviously, with the lockdown and pandemic COVID-19, and then you had one of the biggest cyclone that hit, Bengal and especially Kolkata, and which was very very difficult. In difficult times, you get another one which comes and destroys completely. It was very very challenging, and I can only say that my prayers are with all the families who've lost their loved ones, and I think a lot of destructions happened with the cyclone. But I'm quite confident, as Bengal is always known to bounce back. They've always done that, over the years. So I think they've seen difficult times. Bengal is, I think, the only state that has seen more difficult times through generation from the partition to everything, I think, and they've always bounced back strongly, and I think they're bouncing it back, which we've been seeing over the few couple of days.
No, and the news about earthquakes also. Part of North India, it's quite scary also for a lot of us.
True, and I think again floods in northeast, and then you have heat
Yeah,
wave, and then you
exactly.
had that insect I think locusts, coming and destroying. So it's been quite challenging.
Yeah. But coming to football, you're the best voice probably. I mean, not probably. You are the best voice in the country. I mean, what has changed in last 2 decades in Indian football?
I think the popularity of the sport is definitely increased. We get to see a lot of football on television right now, including obviously Indian football as well.
Yeah.
We would want to see more of Indian football. That's always there, but I think football we get to see. European football. You've got Champions League. You've got World Cup. You've got Asian Cups coming in. So I think that interest is gone up quite a lot, because I think kids are watching the matches, both Indian League as well as European League. So that interest has definitely gone up quite a lot. And yes, I think infrastructure-wise, we are yet to really do well. We've still made some progress, but we need to do much more. Apart from that, I think good thing is that we've got a huge number of kids playing football right now in today's India compared to what it was 10, 20 years ago. So that's a good sign, because more kids come and play, the more talent you would start scouting.
That's what they say. If you give a cricket ball to someone in Europe, they'll start playing football with it. I mean, that's the first game which comes naturally to a child, isn't it?
No, I think it's a global sport, and every country around the world plays only one sport. Not I would not say only one sport, but I think one sport is recognized all across the world is football. And I think today you've got very few world superstars where all around the world people recognize. Like today, if you speak of Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, in the past Maradona, Pele. I think these are world icons. So,
Yeah.
these people are known across the world. And you don't see that even with very few politicians, you would see that, and very few, great leaders would be world icons. But I think footballers are just not world stars, but they're also icons, and they're loved because of the game.
But last 2 decades, we are also seeing a lot of international tours of the different junior teams and Indian team going out and playing in different countries. That has also helped, right, to grow the way football is growing.
No, I think it's important for obviously Indians. If you're speaking of Indian teams, it's important for them to travel out, play matches outside India, because you can't be playing all the time in India to really progress as a footballing nation. So good thing is, I think a lot of underage teams in India today are getting so many matches. When we were preparing for under 17 World Cup, I think 2 3 years, I think Government of India, All India Football Federation, and the Sports Ministry completely supported. And these kids were almost 2 3 years living outside the country, having 40 50 matches with top teams across the world. That's the kind of experience
Yeah.
and the training and the facilities they were getting. So which I think is great because you need those kind of exposures.
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard stories that you guys had to, when you started off during your young days for India, used to wash your own clothes.
There was nothing else you could do. We had to travel by unreserved train uh, train travel, which was getting into third class
Yeah.
compartments because those days the challenge to get reservation in train even today as well is difficult, but those days were impossible.
Yeah.
And obviously federation wasn't that rich to provide us with the airfare and give us a good accommodation. We were all placed in sai centers across different parts of the country, either in Bangalore sai center, Kolkata sai center, or in Punjab. So now obviously the national team does stay in good hotels, good training, which is obviously very, very good change. But it was difficult, and also this number of matches, tournaments were limited. When I played for under 16 India, we had just four matches throughout the year. So, and in that age group, when I played under 16 India, just not for the national, for even for say that age group national level tournament, there's not many tournament. One or two school level tournament, which was previous Subroto Cup, and
Yeah.
within the state of
You are the
Sikkim, you
best
had a
player.
few small
You are the best
tournaments with the
player.
schools. So
Yeah.
that's it.
And did you have to cook your own food also? Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, please. I'm trying to connect.
Oh, am I too loud or something? No. Okay. I'm just wondering, did you have to cook your own food also during those early days?
Yes, please.
Yeah, my question
My
is, did you
headphone again, the network is gone with it. The battery's dead out, so I can hear you.
yeah, and I'm quite loud actually. No, just wondering that, did you have to cook your own food also when you during those early days?
Just a second.
No problem.
Yes.
Now, I'm just
Can you repeat that question,
yeah,
please?
I'm saying, did you have to cook your own food also as budding footballers?
Little loud. Sorry, I couldn't hear that.
No, I'm saying, did you have to cook your own food during those days, early days? When you traveled as an under 16 footballer for India and your state and things like that?
No, I think everything was on us, So it was challenging times because, but for us, we did not really care on a lot of things, difficult things. But for us to play for India was something we were very, very. I was particularly very, very excited. So, in fact, I traveled all the way from Sikkim to right down to Kerala, which is Trivandrum, in a train which I did not have reservation as a 16 15-year old boy with
My
3 days
goodness.
3 night without even proper seat. I just traveled
Yeah.
because the excitement and wanted to just play for the country was there. And you don't, I think when you really have that interest and love for the sport, then you ready to do anything. So that's how it happened.
No, I hear a lot of stories about how clubs used to delay their payments, to their footballers, and now things have really become professional. They get their payments on time, and which you probably didn't have that luxury. Your thoughts on it?
No, I think there was a lot of issues because the clubs obviously during those days were not professional at all. Obviously, they had bigger challenges as well because they had no sponsorship, there was no corporate support, and they were lacking obviously in terms of finances. So and the players obviously in terms of payment were never regular. So it was always a challenge that way. There was no formal contract signed. Now
Yeah.
you've got agents with the players, you've got clubs, are more organized than what it is. So I think the life right now is definitely much better, but I'm
Yeah.
sure it can get much better than what it is as well.
How has science come into football? I mean, there's a lot of sports science happening all over the world. We're seeing a lot of science coming into Indian football. You think it's helping Indian football in some way? Did you have that science during your time? You of course are natural talent.
No, I think with time, I think technology does play an important role, and I think it does help in any way it can. Obviously, with time, it changes what we had and what it is right now is obviously very different, and I'm sure next 5-10 years down the line you'll see a more advanced technology, so that will always happen. And I think it's always a welcome step for the technology to come in and
Yeah. Yeah.
do it well.
And we used to hear about how a lot of footballers, especially from Calcutta, used to love having egg roll and chicken roll, and things have changed so much. They have become conscious right now. They don't have junk food. So a lot of development has, a lot of changes have happened, right?
I think the younger generation of players are much more professional now. They're worried about their health. I think they really take care of their body. And that we can see it. I think, and it's a great move because with as I said, with world football coming on live on television and with social media, with digital platform coming in, I think you get a lot of information and you get a lot of support and help, and that's how I think this generation of players are very well equipped and are, I think, much more conscious about fitness, health, and being more professional.
And you were obviously a big fitness freak. The way you used to somersault during training, I've seen you training a lot of times. So how was that? I mean, during your time, did anyone come and tell you you have to have this kind of food, you have to have that kind of food? So did you have any specific regime in those days?
Towards the end of the career, yes, there was
Okay.
a bit, with a lot of foods and training methods and all that. But I think for me, I was
Full
anyway
athlete.
during my school days. I'd done a bit of gymnastic. I used to play all the sports during the school days. That really helped as well. So overall fitness was something which was quite natural because flexibility wise, I was very flexible because of gymnastic, which I did in my young days, and obviously, speed was something later on. Once we start, getting older, that's where we can work out. But as a footballer, I think you definitely require that full all-round fitness, just not running or something else. So it's all-round fitness is very important. And as I said, I think we did not grow up with those guidance. But
Yeah.
once you start playing for India, and you have that support system, then you do get a lot of advices and guidance.
You've obviously the biggest legend I have seen in last 3 decades in Indian football, and you have another player in making. You've seen him, building his career, Sunil Shetty. He's been doing so well as a captain. Your thoughts on Sunil?
I think he's done fantastically well. He's come in and given everything. And great thing about Sunil is I think he's a completely professional boy, and he takes care of his health. He's always working out. He does his extra training. And the best thing is he maintains his fitness and works and does look after his body very well. And that's very important. And now, if you see, at the age of 35 as well, he's strong, and his fitness levels are as good as any 18-year-old boy. So that's, I think, that comes within from the player, because you need to make sure that you're mentally prepared to work hard and make sure that you're keeping fitness, overall fitness, and at the same time having that hunger to continue playing in that top level with top performance. And that can only happen if you're ready to give everything on the ground, and make sure that you're 110% fit.
I've been covering cricket for donkey's years. I can tell you one thing: IPL changed a lot of definition in Indian cricket. I mean, the way we are playing, the way we are performing away from home, IPL played a huge role. So when ISL came, similar sentiments everyone had, all the football fans. So do you think ISL has been successful in getting things right in Indian football? Because after you rub your shoulders with a big ball.
I think it is contributed to the growth of Indian football definitely, and a tournament like ISL will always do good for Indian football because you're getting to watch first of all the Indian players playing regularly
Yeah,
every week during ISL. You're getting some of the best coaches to train and coach the ISL teams, and also now infrastructure-wise, I think the ISL teams are also committed to give good infrastructure. So I think the
absolutely.
boys are training under good coaches, good environment, good infrastructure, and getting to compete with a lot of good footballers, foreign players, and that's definitely helped. I feel that especially when I watch Indian team play, I think the players are playing. Indian players are playing with a lot of confidence. I think tactically they are quite aware of the tactical positions, and the shape of the team. So I think that psychologically, I think they're more confident now. Whenever they play outside India as well. So that's been a positive sign. Yes, again, as I said, ISL obviously also needs to do much more. The grassroots is where they can contribute a lot now, which they I think All India Football Federation is made mandatory to all the clubs, including I League and ISL, to invest in grassroots. So hopefully, I think with time it will get better. But we need more teams in ISL. The season has to be longer. At the same time, I think Mr. Praful Patel has already announced that there will be relegation promotion after a certain number of years, after
Yeah,
two,
yeah.
3 years, which is a great positive sign. And I think that's where the competition is going to get harder and better. And I think that's where a lot of players are going to come out, and a lot of new players, a lot of young players in India are going to get that opportunity.
Money, we get that feeling once in a while that money is a huge driving force for sports in India. For players, like players of your generation, you played the sport because you loved it. You traveled in without reservation from eastern part of the country to Kerala. So there was a lot of passion involved in that. But right now, the thought is that there's a lot of money driven this thing in Indian sport. Do you think it's the right culture?
No, I think it's important that money has to come in. I think money is one of the major factors for the sports to grow. It's definitely one of the key factors. And for players, obviously, if you're playing for a national team and playing for top clubs, I think they definitely want to make sure that their lives are secured and they can focus completely on football. So I think it is important, but it should also not get into the players' uh, head so much that everything is just money and nothing else. So I think that balance is very, very important for them to bring in. Obviously, money is one of the factor that
Yeah.
the kids and people in India would want your children to play that sport, because if you can make a good living
Yeah,
playing
why
the
not?
sport and there's a future to it,
Yeah,
then you get that support as well. It does make a difference. And if you own a club and I have good support financially from a corporate, it makes things much easier in terms of building my infrastructure, getting my grassroots organized. So those are factors that makes a good difference. But for players, I can only advise is it's important. Money is a factor, but don't make money as everything.
yeah,
Your game, I think at the end of the day, you need to play from your heart and you need to really love it. So
absolutely.
if you're getting 10 crores and you're not enjoying the game and you're just playing for the sake of it, then I think it's a very short career you're gonna have.
So my next question is, will the I League and ISL merger, will it help Indian football in the long run?
See, I think we know now that it's not going to merge, because the All India Football Federation is already declared that there will be relegation and promotion after certain years. I think by
Yeah,
next 2 3 years. So I think that's fine. And now more or less, I think the federation has declared ISL as the number one league.
yeah,
So you can't do much about it. And a lot of I League clubs today are also eagerly wanting to play ISL because they've also accepted that ISL is a bigger league. And today, clubs like Mohun Bagan, East Bengal, which are the biggest clubs in India, are running after to play ISL. Itself shows that ISL is the big league. So, in a longer run, I think the promotion relegation is very, very important, so that clubs like United Sikkim, we might just be playing second division, but we need to have that kind of hope that one day once we start investing in grassroots, start playing well, that we also can reach to play the highest league in India. And that's how I think for me sponsors are going to be challenging, but to get investors becomes very easy if there is hope that my club United Sikkim can become one of the best clubs in India and go on to play for Asia and win do well in Asia club level and then go on to play for FIFA club level, and
Yeah.
that's where people would come and invest. So if you don't have scope of reaching that highest level of league and you're stuck after second division to I League and then you can't go further, then I don't think you'll even find investors. Forget sponsorship is a big challenge, but even investors to come in is going to be difficult. And in future, I think for clubs, small clubs like United Sikkim and other lot of smaller clubs who are there, is
Yeah.
only to produce work strongly on grassroots level, produce good quality players, and sell the players and gain that revenue to run your club. That's how a lot of South American clubs does it. Produce some of the biggest players, sell them to
Okay.
some European clubs. African clubs does that. A lot of European smaller clubs does that as well. So that's how I think the smaller clubs have great opportunity to rise slowly financially and also in terms of bringing out good talent from different parts of the country.
Oh, lovely. Another football legend. I am Vijayan used to say that your God's gift to India in football. So your thoughts on it?
I think that's just
That's a
nice gesture from him, because I think he's just such a wonderful human being, and I think that's where we keep saying football is one sport that does not distinguish any caste, religion, rich, poor. I think it's all about talent being a team. And for me, when I grew up, I am Bijayan was one of the biggest idol I would look up to, because when I was doing my under 16 India camp in
yeah, yeah,
Kolkata, Bijayan was, in fact, in under 23 camp. They were also training for some tournament. And that's where we, as under 16 players, used to watch them and, just admire. And from those days itself, he was such a humble guy, talking to all younger players. And slowly, obviously, I got to know about his personal life as well, how difficult and how challenging his family background he had come from, selling soda bottles on matches in Kerala. And that is
very
something
good.
I think
Good.
football does not distinguish. It's about talent, and for me, he was my role model. Despite whatever difficult challenges he was, I would look up to him as a footballer, and I think that's what sports brings. Unites and inspires people. Does not really distinguish any, you know, caste, creed, culture, rich or poor, anything. It's just that. So for me, I think he's been one of the most inspirational footballer for India and for me.
And away from India, I mean, who was the most, who inspired you the most from the foreign land?
Obviously, as a kid, you we used to get excited, but our days was we did not have cable. I'm sure our generations would know it. If you cross 40s, and people who cross 40s would know how sports was in India
Then
during
what World
70s,
Cup and all that?
80s.
Yeah.
80s, we did not get to watch any, forget foreign, we did not even get to watch Indian football on television or read on newspaper. And especially when you're born in Sikkim, that access was even more challenging. So the first time I watched football was 86 World Cup Maradona, and that's how we started knowing about world football and glimpse of what. Then after that, 4 years nothing. So for me, most inspiring players for me was the local players in Sikkim. And then slowly, once 86 happened, Maradona was the biggest
Yeah, for all of us.
inspiration. But with every World Cup, there were new players. And then I shifted to Roberto Baggio in
Okay.
Italy 90. So he
Yeah.
was again the star. So, and that kept changing with Brazilian Ronaldo, Romario, and now Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo.
As a captain, you won the, if I'm not mistaken, the Nehru Cup, the LG Cup, the AFC Cups. Run us through those journeys. You were like right on top of your game, and the way you led the side, you got so much energy. So that, I mean, tell us those stories. I mean,
No, I think it was a great honor, obviously, to captain India, because obviously playing for India was one of the biggest uh, aim and biggest achievement for a footballer to play. And captain it is just again another big honor. But when I was captain, the most challenging things were looking after the players, fighting for the players, right? Because India was during my period, I think, into a transition into getting a semi-professional to more organized with I leagues coming in.
Yeah.
First time Indian footballers getting into a cable satellite television, uh, and the clubs were also getting a little bit of sponsors. Things were getting a little organized, and that was one thing where, having seen post pre I National League, it was difficult because the clubs were also having their own challenges. They were not organized. The contracts were never there. The salaries were
Mm.
never paid. The players suffered, injured. Nobody took care of them. They were not paid. So, as a captain, I think it got me in that position to really get organized, motivate the players, and also with the Indian players, to tell them that it's important for us to play well and do well. But at the same time, I think we need to make sure that the future generation of our players don't struggle with all the off the field issues. And that's where I came back from England and started Football Players Association, to make sure that the players have a platform to come and speak
Yeah.
as one
Absolutely.
voice. And
Yeah.
luckily, I was captain and I could speak those days. And I know I've been into a lot of problems because I've always spoken from heart, which was right for the players and right for
No,
the game of
a
football.
true.
And it's not always gone well with the clubs, with the state association, with the federation as well. So, but important thing was, I had to speak what was right, which I felt was right for the players, for Indian football. And a lot of times, obviously, I've had very bad uh, relationship with clubs, including state associations and the federation bosses as well.
We hear a lot of courage you have shown, for while batting for the Tibetan independence movement. I remember you also didn't agree to carry the Olympic torch in India. So you have lots of guts, and as you said, you speak from your heart. So run us through. I mean, you still have that thing to fight for the right reason.
No, it is. I think you know b- in India, I think the players, especially footballers, uh, came from 90%, maybe even 95%, came from a very humble background, and
Yeah.
with very little education background. And obviously, the exposure obviously wasn't there limited to Indian football. And I was a bit lucky to get that exposure outside India, to know about football, what exactly is in Europe, and especially in England, having played there for 3 years. Uh, so it was important for the players to speak out, because if the
Yeah.
national team players did not really speak, and especially I being a captain, having seen that exposure across the world, traveled with Indian teams, played in different countries, and if
Yeah.
we don't speak out and demand better for the players, then I think nobody else can do that.
Yeah.
And it was important for me to speak, whether obviously it was good, whether the bosses in the federation or the clubs liked it or not. It was important for me to speak out, and we spoke out. There were a lot of things which I felt was the wrong decision from the federations against the players. We were vocal about it,
Yeah.
and I did try and push a lot of the players in the national team to speak and stand, because a lot of the
Yeah.
players just were worried about the contract, worried about federation. They might get kicked out of the team. National team might be kicked out of the club. They might it might ruin their career. So it was important to tell them and be behind them, to say that, look, I'm speaking. You guys need to come behind and speak for the betterment of Indian football. And that's how. And the Olympic torch obviously was a very personal thing, because
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Sikkim we've got a lot of people and friends and families who are Tibetans, and I really sympathize with their cause. And for me, one of the biggest role model in the world is His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and I follow him very closely. And he's
Absolutely.
one true world icon leaders. We don't have many in the world. It's only, I think, few. Nelson Mandela is one of them, and His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the world which recognize. So obviously, I follow his non-violence. I follow his teachings, and for me to really was a very small gesture of support which I could give it for His Holiness the Dalai Lama.
I mean, we saw you venturing into politics a little. I mean, someone who is as clean as you are from the heart. So, how was it getting into politics and managing people?
Politics is definitely difficult compared to sports, because in sports you control your own destiny, how you play, and that's how you get the result. But in politics, how good you are, how hard you work, you could lose to a biggest liar, a biggest crook, or somebody who's got no knowledge of anything and who's only there to lie and cheat people. So
Absolutely.
the
Absolutely.
control is not in your hands, it's in somebody else's, and you've got to accept that. So that's what politics is. The best people always doesn't win in politics. You could see some of the worst people actually winning it, and running and making the policies for us in India.
How tough was it retiring from the game? Because you looked someone who could have played on and on. Even now, also, you look someone who can just go to the turf and start playing.
No, I think retirement was something which was not the way I wanted to.
Yeah.
That is something which sometimes you wish and you don't get everything, and that's what I've learned with football, and I accept it, because everything you want is not going to happen. And for me, retirement was captaining the Asia Cup in Doha, playing all the matches, India doing well, and then retiring. But before the tournament, 3-4 months before the tournament, I was out injured, getting back again injured, getting back injured. Even going to the tournament as well, I wasn't completely recovered from the injury.
Yeah.
So I got to play just last match against Korea, which was 25 to 30 minutes, and that was end of my international career. So which was very a bit unfortunate, but I did not exactly retire after that. I did not announce it. Um, but then when I came back, I think even I think Bob Houghton had left the national team. That's where I thought I would retire, and luckily, I think that time the boss of Audi India offered to bring in Bayern Munich in one of the social event. When I met him,
Yeah.
he said, Baichung, I want you to play a retirement match with Bayern Munich from
That
Germany.
was a
And
great gesture. Yeah.
actually, when he offered that, I did not know what to say. I wanted to, should I cry or should I laugh or should I feel happy or should I feel sad? Because uh, you know, you're playing Bayern Munich and you want to play a retirement game. In one way, you're worried that what the hell, you're playing one of the best teams in the world, and your retirement match could be a disaster with, having a horrible game, and you could concede. And second thing was, you are obviously excited that such a great big club of the world wants to come in, is coming to play for your retirement match.
Yeah.
And I was not at all fit, because after Asia Cup that happened in December, and then I was not training. I was, just recovering, getting a little fit, and I wasn't even fit. So I was wondering, how do I play against Bayern Munich? And first of all, is it should not be a disaster thing that my retirement match. It could be a embarrassing thing, but at the same time, I'm happy because and excited because you've got one of the best clubs in the world coming to play for you. So it was a mixed feeling, and I did tell him that, oh, it'll be great, I'll play, but inside there was a big tension that was going. But overall, at the end, I think it went well. I wasn't 100% fit in that match, but I still managed to play 85 minutes, and to get that honor and respect from a team like Bayern Munich was something very, very special.
Yeah, and special for us also. I grew up in Calcutta watching these legends like Vikas Paji and Krishanu De, Bhaskar Ganguly, one who spotted you in Sikkim. They were legends. I used to often wonder, when will India play in the World Cup? You think it will happen in our lifetime?
You never know. I think it's you. Nothing is impossible, and it can happen. Yeah, North Korea has played World Cup, and for a country like India, it's not impossible. But yes, you're not going to play World Cup just sitting there and doing nothing. You've got to work 100 times more. Obviously, we've got to do much more than what we've been doing so far. We need to create that culture of football in
Yeah.
India, not just culture for football, but we need to create sports culture in India. I think the younger parents now are more concerned about their kids to play sports, which is very, very important. And now with COVID-19, I think we've seen that health is the most important factor. And I'm sure
Absolutely. Absolutely.
this coronavirus, COVID-19, is going to change people's lives in India, and especially will make people aware that fitness and health is such an important part. And I'm sure they'll encourage a lot of all their kids to go and play some sports, just not indoor, outdoor sports. And hopefully, if that mentality changes and people are now saying that fitness and the health can obviously tackle COVID, then I think we'll see a lot of kids playing different sports, and especially football. I think we can have a lot of good players coming out.
So we are in 40s. I want to ask one question. Is it, do you prefer coaching a football team or commentating on a tournament? I mean, which comes easier for you?
Uh, I would. I like to do both, but I can't be committed to. Like coaching is a full committed job which you do
I
it
know. I know.
throughout the year.
Yeah.
I love to do commentary because you're doing a month and a half, and then again you go back. You're not doing 365 days. But as coaching, if you have to do 365 days, I'm not sure I'm ready for that, because I think your commitment to the sport and to your team is 24/7, 365 days, which after playing for 35 years, I don't know if I want to do that, though I enjoy and I love coaching. But to fully commit and give that time and to do that, I don't know if I'm ready for that, because it's a tough job. It's a 24/7 job. You're preparing a team. You're watching matches. You're watching players. You're also doing a tactical strategy, and getting the right combination of the players, which takes years and years to get the right team, to gel and work. And in India, I think still that system is not coming where you can, as a coach, he gets that liberty to keep a team for 3 4 years together and work and build it. You don't get that kind of liberty in India, because one year
No.
most of the clubs, changes half the squad. So it becomes very difficult for coaches to really succeed as well, unless you are lucky that you just get good 20 bunch of players and somehow clicks. So it becomes challenging that way.
You know, do we intend to see Baichung Bhutia as the AIFF boss one day, like Saurav Ganguly is right now? He's 47. You're not 47, but
No, I'm
Saurav is
not 47.
Saurav is
I'm way
47.
below that.
And he's a BCCI president, and it's a great pride for a lot of the journalists, a lot of cricketers I speak to, and when they see Saurav, and there's a talk that he might go to ICC, and they're just free. I mean, just enjoying the fact that a cricketer is taking over the administration. When will India see Baichung Bhutia taking over football?
See, I think it's easier for Saurabh to be a president of cricket because he has the entire support system, he has that finances, and it's easier. And in India, it's cricket influences a lot of political decisions, and you can reach to
I
the
know.
highest authority to make a lot of things for it. But for a game like football, I think still it's not a recognized sport all across India. It's still a game which is growing, and to get sponsorship, to get your things done in the highest level as well, makes it very, very difficult. So it's going to be a tough, challenging position. That's the reason why a lot of the federations, apart from cricket, is only got mostly influential politicians in that job, because they use their influence in a lot of things to
Yeah,
get things done, and that's how
yeah,
India works,
yeah.
sadly. and we need them. We need politicians, obviously, in federations, is because their networking, their power,
Yes,
and
yes,
to make
yes.
and to take decisions in the highest level with the government of India is there, and that's why it makes it easy for
But you can't
federations to
stay there
run.
forever.
What's
I'm
that?
saying you can't stay there forever. I mean,
you,
they make
you
that position
can't you
very,
can't you can't stay, but once one of them goes, then you'll have another fellow coming in anyway, because
yeah,
that influential big political power is going to come in anyway. So, and for sports like football and a bit of hockey and other things, you do require, politicians. Yes, I would love to be, one day be president of All India Football Federation. It's not that I'm
all the
dying
best
to
for
be,
that.
or I would do anything to be. It's
Yeah,
something which is something I would, if there is an opportunity in future, I would definitely consider it. I
yeah,
might not be ready right now, but in future I could consider it. But for that, I think you also need a set of teams that can really help you, and uh, and take it forward, because it's very, very challenging. And at the end of the day, it's politics again, because the federation post does come out with the voting, and you've seen a lot of the states in federation does not do anything and has no contribution individually or as a state association for the growth of the sport in their state or the country, but because their vote counts are in top executive committees in the federation. And you can't help that, because you can't blame the president for that, because it's important, those votes, for him to get into that. So I think we need to try and change that. We need to bring in committed people in the state
yeah.
associations as well,
Like you,
and mind to really
yeah.
develop the sport.
Yeah, and a strong person like you with strong ideas who can guide Indian football to the next level. Of course, AIFF is doing a great job by bringing in professionalism, but someone like you being there at the helm of affairs will certainly help the sport. This is what I feel. Not me, a lot of people.
Sometimes in India, when you have to work with a lot of people, I tend to be a little aggressive, and because especially when it comes to football, because I'm very passionate about the game,
Of course, you have to be.
and
You
I
have
know
to be.
it. I know it, how much it really brings out passion. And sometimes when you know that these are things which are possible, can be done, and you don't see
Yeah.
that kind of commitment from people around, then I tend to be a little vocal, little aggressive, and that does not really go well in India. And obviously, that's something which I'll have to and hopefully, if you get the right team, you've got the right support. I think football in India can change. We can do lot of things good for the game. It's important. My advice to also to the federation, All India Football Federation, and to people running ISL, it's important for them, for ISL or I League or any other league, and the federation people, to make sure that financially, commercially, they're successful and
Yeah.
they're stronger. But please, at the same time, we need to see the development side of Indian football as well. So this too has to go hand in hand. We
And
can't only see at the commercial side to see that, through this there's a commercial and we really benefit financially so much, but then we miss out the development side. Then I think it's not going to help. So I think the commercial and the development of Indian football has to go hand in hand. So that's the reason why the laws and the rules and the implementation, uh, of the game has to be such that both are taken care of,
yeah.
and not looked only at the development side and not looked at only at the commercial side. So the balance has to go when we create a structure for Indian football.
Yeah. When do you see football starting in India? We are seeing Bundesliga started off. There are few places in the world they are having football to empty stands. When do you see India opening up to sports again without spectators?
I think right now, good thing for Indian football is we are anyway in off season, because this is the time Indian football season finishes and we have a break till
Yeah,
September.
absolutely. Yeah.
I think that tournaments only starts from October. So which is fine. So we can wait till October. By then, I think I'm sure something might come up. But it has to start because the game has to go on. Uh, it's
Absolutely.
important that the team starts playing. There might be little in terms of costs, in terms of testing, doing a lot of things, but that is going to be way lesser than a lot of other costs. So the game has to resume once the season starts, and I'm not too worried because I think the COVID-19 across the world we've seen in the data. If you're fit, if you're healthy, if you've got strong immune system,
Absolutely.
it's
Yeah.
not going to affect you.
Yeah.
And we've seen players in Italy, Spain getting COVID-19, and they've stayed home, had few fever medicine or something else, and they've recovered in 3 4 days time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So its only danger is that they might just carry it and pass it on to elders at home or anybody with
Yes.
other illnesses
No
who's got
immunity. Yes.
less immune. So
Yeah.
that will have to be taken care. The players will have to be more responsible on that. But playing, I think there are 20, 22 players with good immune, good health. I don't see it any problem. And we've already seen with Bundesliga, Korean League now this month, even in the English League and the Spanish League and Italian leagues are coming in.
Yes.
So I don't see any problem in terms of starting to play. Yes, it might be without fans, but we need to start playing.
Your favorite club in India and your favorite club away from India.
My favorite club in India obviously is East Bengal and United
Oh,
Sikkim. And outside India, I do obviously. I've been supporting Arsenal, and I have obviously been fan from Dennis Bergkamp days. So that's why it's I've been connected with Arsenal from those eras. So right now also I do support Arsenal.
I do believe your daughters are extremely good gymnasts, like you were
Yes,
during your.
yes.
So, and they're just growing naturally. I mean, you're not taught them anything, right?
No, I'm very happy that they in fact they play all the sports. Yeah, I'm very proud
Can we see them?
because
Can we see them? Can we see them?
they're good in running. In school, they've
Yeah.
won a lot of medals in terms of running. They do good gymnasts, which is without proper trainer as well. They've been able to train and do gymnasts on their own.
Can we see
And
them? Can we
we've
see them?
obviously putting them into boarding from this year, and
Yeah.
they
Okay.
obviously wanted to make sure that the school wherever they go has a gymnastic facility. So that's where the two daughters are going.
Are they around? Can we see them?
Come, Kisha, they want to say hello. Kisha is here, so say hello. That's
Hi.
Hi.
Kisha, the
Hi.
elder
Hi.
one. The younger
Okay.
one is, I think, somewhere inside watching something.
Okay. Okay.
Again, it just finished. My son is just finished his online football training program,
Wow.
and
Wow.
is, I think, just
And it's a celebration, and thanks a lot for taking your time out. You've come home after such a long time to be able to respond to Sportskeeda at short notice and come on a show like this. Really means a lot to us. And all the best. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you very soon.
thank you very much. Thanks
Thank you,
for that.
Baichung.
Thank
Thank you.
you.